I am so excited to introduce all of you, my BEXLIFE community, to my good friend, Matt Hunter, whom I met on a trip to Israel. That was so magical, wasn't it, Matt?
Unbelievable. Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
You're a world traveler. I'm usually stuck in New Jersey. I've been places, but I don't get to travel as much as you. So that was an experience that was fantastic because I got to go to a new place, but also because I met so many amazing people, including you.
Aw, thank you. Well, that warms me in the heart area, and I'm also just super excited. Yeah, I mean, it was great to meet you, and we had an awesome time.
Today we're going to be talking about the heart area, the brain area, the pelvic area, all the different areas that make us human and awesome. But first, I want to tell people a little bit about you. I have your bio, or your short bio, in front of me. Hunter is a Canadian entrepreneur, social activist, and artist. He is currently the co-founder and CEO of the intimacy development platform Cambio. Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah.
Their mission is to bring health and happiness to the world by creative experiences that help people develop their sex lives and relationships. And this is the most exciting thing that I have read in a little while, at least. Where most see confusion, anger, self-doubt, and frustration, and shame, shame's the big one, we see the potential for connection, confidence, awareness, peace, and contentment. Wow, I love that.
Thank you.
I love it so much. So there is a community that I love so much that I host that I want all of you to come into, where I talk to almost 2,000 people every single day about personal development and fulfillment and self-expression. And we have been working on leadership skills and how we step into leadership in our own lives, in our own families, in our own communities. And the topic of sexuality and sexual expression and intimacy came up. And it came up in a discussion about money. A few of the women in the thread said that they had not had intimacy, touch, sex, sexual intercourse with their partners in years, and they were carrying on the relationship. And they were also struggling in other areas of their lives, more pointedly, finances. And I shared how, coming into my full expression and being able to feel freer and more comfortable in my sexuality, how that helped with my financial status. And I immediately thought of you at a conversation that we had in Israel after we were in church.
Funny how that works. Yeah.
I mean, and I told you, God wants us to feel pleasure. God wants us to be happy. So we were in church and we came out, and your work is, you know what? Tell me what your work is. Tell me what Cambio is all about.
Cambio is a project that I started in the past year. Before that, I was a musician for a long time, and then I was a technology entrepreneur. So I was started with my best friend and was part of a business that grew over 5 years and was recently acquired by Yelp. And now I have this project. In my own words, it's about helping people connect with their sexuality. And we mainly do that by helping people identify the things that are getting in the way for them to really be their true selves, their authentic selves, and to readjust their expectations around what it means to be a human being and to be a sexual being and to relate with others, and how you fit into that picture. And so we mainly do that through stories, which you can find at medium.com/Cambio. And we host group discussions. So Philip and I, my partner in the project, wherever we are in the world, we host these discussions. And they're really lovely tools to self-reflect and make breakthroughs in terms of who you are and who you want to be.
I love that idea of, connecting with who you are, and you use the word human. And I talk a lot about how bad we are at being human, about how, being human means so many different things. And there's so many beautiful aspects of us that sometimes the beauty shows up in darkness. It shows up in weirdness. It shows up in kinkiness. It shows up in goodness, which is a weird word that I don't actually love so much. It shows up in charity. There's so many aspects to being human, but we only want to take some of them as acceptable, and then the other ones we push aside. And I think that's where we really block progress and growth and love. And we block the flow of abundance into our lives. And that could be in terms of intimacy and then also in money. So what would you, because I love tips. I love like, okay, I'm going to do this, this, and this, and then I'm going to get this. What would you say is you're struggling with talking about some feelings that you're having about something new that's come up for you, or some new feelings? What would be the first step that you would take to be able to feel comfortable with the feeling, and then maybe express it to a partner or a friend?
So,
and this is just you. This is not advice. Like, what would you do? Something.
Yeah, what would I do?
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, I think one of the most important things that I did is I educated myself on what it actually is to be a human being. You know, and then translating that, I mean, if we're talking about sexuality and relationships specifically, you know, what is natural? What is it? What do human beings actually do? You know, like if I'm a guy and I'm a straight guy, but I am attracted to another man, and that really frustrates and angers me, and I feel shameful about that. Really, I think the best thing for me to do is to adjust my expectations around, oh no, wait, that's actually a normal thing, right? To for a guy to feel attraction to another man, that, you know, that's a pretty normal thing for a lot of guys. And so if I just had the knowledge and understanding that, okay, this is how I'm feeling, there's actually nothing wrong with that, that's like a totally natural thing to feel, then you would save yourself just exponential amounts of grief. And I think that goes for all kinds of things. Another example that causes us a lot of grief as human beings is that we're attracted to many different people. You know, even if you're married, even if you you know, only quote unquote have eyes for one person, even if you want to be with that one person for the rest of your life, those things are all great. But it is totally natural to have feelings of attraction, or maybe even more than that, for other people. That's not a shameful thing. That doesn't mean that you have to act on that. That doesn't mean that you know, you're a bad person. It's just a natural thing, right? So if you have the understanding of that, and you can just kind of chill out a little bit, then I think you can just be a lot better about that. You can feel completely open to share that with friends. You can feel completely open to just nip it in the bud, or just say, oh, hey, that's me being attracted to somebody else because I'm a human being. So that's okay.
Yeah. How about that? I love
How about that? Yeah.
I talk about this in my book, and in terms of meditation and the ebb and flow of feelings and the ebb and flow of circumstances, and how when we are in a state of allowing instead of a state of pushing away or trying to control, everything gets so much easier. And I hear you talking about curiosity, how you educated yourself when things came up instead of judging yourself, which is so important. And the judgment with our intuition, for example, when thoughts come up, when you know, ideas come up, when we get that gut feeling, when we don't approach it with allowing, and when we don't say, how about that? And instead we judge it and we push it away, it becomes very resistant to showing up again for us. And when we're dealing with this core, visceral, the base level of like who we are, our sexuality, which doesn't just mean sexual intercourse, guys, by the way. I'm not just talking about sex with another person. It's just how you express yourself in these feelings of sexuality. When we're dealing with that, if we start stifling that, our home base, we are going to be completely muted in every other area of our life. And what I discovered when I started feeling like really good about all of the parts of me in relationship to my sexuality, everything else became very, very easy. I became brave in every area, especially in business, where I was like, if I can express myself here and be accepted, then I could totally express myself in this area of business where I'm dealing with strangers mostly. And I became a bigger risk taker, and the rewards were enormous. Now, did you do this work before you had your successful business or after?
Oof. I mean, most of it came during and after, but I mean, there were several realizations along the way. If you have a curious mind, it's, you know, the growth and the learnings are not siloed to like one particular period of your life.
Mm-hmm.
But I did a lot of this work starting about 2 years ago, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how is it, or has it shown up in or affected? And I can pretty much predict the answer, but how does it show up in other areas of your life? Because you're working on this part specifically.
I mean, first of all, I'm a lot more confident in my own skin, and that can show up in many different ways. This past week, I was emceeing a summit of it was called the Sandbox Summit. It's 320 people flew in from all over the world, and there are just a bunch of young people doing really cool things. And I showed up, and I had to get on stage that day that I arrived, but my bags didn't arrive. And my neighbors were girls, and they jokingly kind of said, "Oh yeah, well we'll dress you." And I said, "Great," and they offered me an actual dress. And I said, "Okay, perfect, let's do this." And so I wore the dress, and I went on stage, and I emceed that evening in a dress. And I was completely comfortable with who I was in that moment. And I think it just totally allowed me to connect with people and be fully like self-expressive because of the work that I had already done, because I'm totally comfortable with who I am, and I'm totally comfortable with people making judgments of me. But that's also okay, because I can stand in who I am. So I think confidence, self-expression are two very large things. And then just like being like non-judgmental towards yourself, particularly when you know that others are judging you. You know, like certain people in my family don't agree with what I'm doing, but I think it's really helping people out. So I'm going to stand within that, you know, and just be very comfortable with that.
I started smiling as soon as you started telling the story, because I saw the pictures of you in the dress on Facebook. I didn't know the backstory. I thought that you looked fabulous. And I'll tell you this, and why I'm so grateful that you did that. It was an accident for you because you lost your bags and you got the dress. But for me, as a mother of 5 children, and growing up in this current political climate, and having children who I've given a lot of freedom or all the freedom to express who they are and what they are. My midwife gave me the best lesson. I was trying to find out what the sex was of my 4th baby, and she said, "You can find out what you're going to get, but not who you're going to get." And that was the greatest lesson in parenting that I ever received. And it's true. And to see my kids wanting to experiment with kind of clothes that they wear that might be for one gender or the other, or my 6-year-old recently cut her hair short because she wanted it short like a boy, even though we explained to her there's no such thing as boy hair and girl hair, it all grows the same. And having those conversations are sometimes difficult, and it's hard to explain. But when you have that person showing up and making it no big deal, when the guy comes out in a dress and we don't even really have to talk about it. Actually, we don't have to talk about it at all. It makes my job as a parent so much easier, and relaying that message so much easier. And I thank you for not judging yourself and allowing us to be able to not judge ourselves in that way, because that's what it does when we show up as ourselves. We give other people permission to do the same. So thank you.
Permission is a very interesting concept. If you can make it okay for all of the people in your life to feel that they have permission to be themselves, you'd be amazed at the magical things that will happen. So that's a nice one that you touched on.
I love that. I think we're going to leave it with that. I think that when we give ourselves permission to be ourselves, other people will show up. But I think the step that we can take today is to give other people permission to be themselves, to turn it outward, because we're here with other people on the planet. Thank you so much for coming to me all the way. Where are you right now, by the way?
I am in Menorca, Spain, which is not Mallorca, Spain, and
Wow.
it's a lot of fun.
It
Yeah.
was hard to nail you down, so I so appreciate that you took the time with us today.
It's my pleasure, and I'd love to help wherever I can. So just keep me in mind, and I'll be around.
And for all of you guys, any questions, comments, love, praise, I like that the most, so start with that. Put those in the video comments below. I love you so much. Thank you for showing up for me. It compels and inspires me to show up for you as well. And I will see you soon in another BEXLIFE video. Thanks, Matt.
See ya.
All right, that was easy. Thank you so much.
Haven't done it in a while, huh?
I haven't done this in so long. The last time we sat on this porch in this little setup, I was pregnant.
Wow, it was that long ago.
Yeah, she's gonna be 3 in September.
Yikes.
So it's probably been 3 years. It was probably springtime that we sat here.
Yeah. Wow.
I'm excited. Allow me to introduce you to my dear friend, my brother in healing, Quentin. Wellness expert Quentin Venny shouldn't be alive. He's walked a path that many don't live long enough to write about. Surrounded by dead ends and haunted by addiction, abandonment, and violence, he's battled anxiety and depression for most of his life. He's been shot at twice, sold drugs up and down the East Coast, lingered on the brink of incarceration, and stared down death more than once. But when another moment of crisis arose, Quentin made a conscious choice to turn away from his self-destructive path and began a journey of natural healing that ultimately saved his life. Today, I'm hanging out with Quentin in a familiar spot, my back porch in New Jersey, talking about his brand new, very special project. I hope you enjoy our talk enough to like this video, share with your friends, and leave your comments and questions below. We're going to get to all of them. And now, without further adu, my friend Quentin. So today is a really big deal because we are talking about, we're talking about you. Yeah. And I love you.
Love you.
This is Quentin Venny, QuentinVenny.com. You are good at so many things, but right now we're adding to your list of amazing things that you've done. Author, Strong in the Broken Places, a memoir of addiction and redemption through wellness. What is this book? What is this book about?
Well, it's a memoir. It's a book detailing my life, my experiences growing up in Baltimore.